feel like we're finally coming to a time in the world where people are more open to listening to others and accepting the differences between each other. While we're still far from perfect, it's important as writers to recognize the things in our stories that are there for the sake of the story and things that are causing harm to our readers and society in general. And no, we're not talking about,
oh my gosh, you're such a snowflake, just get over it.
I'm talking about real issues in so many forms of media that have been deemed as normal or acceptable that can truly cause harm to people. Whether that be triggering trauma or teaching them to accept ideals or situations as truth when they really shouldn't be. Hello friends, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Megan, and here we talk about all things books, writing, grammar, and more. If you haven't already, please make sure to give this video a like. It helps out my channel a ton. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. Today we're talking about harmful tropes in fiction and why I think that they need to disappear. I know I myself have fallen victim to believing many lies in media. And as a writer, I feel a sense of responsibility to tackle issues in the healthiest way that I can, when I can, and that's something that I feel is really lacking in storytelling. We learn so much about life through stories, so I think it would be fantastic if we writers took more accountability in the way that we present information to our readers, by doing more research on human interaction and the way that our minds and our bodies work. I think it's shocking when you uncover the ideals in media that are considered normal versus what is actually healthy. While you personally may have the more popularized belief, it doesn't mean that everyone does, or that's what everyone has experienced, or that it's even the best way to think about things. So today we're going over 13 harmful tropes in fiction that I would like to see much less of, if any at all. Before I jump in, I just want to clarify, these are not all cold hard facts, and that if you perceive or experience things in a different way, that's completely valid. Most of these points are not as cut and dry as they are shown in fiction, and I would like to see the other side much more often. Number 1, forgiveness means that you have to act like nothing ever happened. This is definitely one I see a lot in TV, movies, and books. Someone is wronged in some horrible way, and while forgiveness should be given, most of the times it's pressured by those around them, constantly telling them you have to forgive and you have to forget and act like you were never wronged, which doesn't make sense to me. Shouldn't we be learning lessons from our past? Everything else in life you're supposed to learn from your experiences. So why are we not learning when someone is hurting us? If someone betrays my trust in a horrible way, I'm going to forgive them, but does that mean I'm going to give them another deep secret of mine? Probably not. Number 2, abuse and toxicity seen as a desirable trait in relationships. This one also makes no sense to me. Can we please stop portraying stalking and killing and physical and emotional and mental violence as something to be sought out in a relationship? Number 3, leaning into stereotypes because they're realistic instead of just making up your own social norms. We've seen oppression and abuse and cruelty time and again in the real world. So unless your story is historical fiction, you don't need to be accurate. Accurate to what? This is a story you're making up. You literally made up an entire world where you made up the rules for society. So please, can we stop oppressing people by their skin color, their gender, their age, and whatever else we're doing in stories for the sake of accuracy or realism? I don't think the half dragon, half elf that you conjured up flying through the sky is all that accurate. So if you can make that up, then you can also make up the treatment of women. Number 4, just because something isn't the worst doesn't mean it's not bad. There seems to be a disturbing amount of pep talks in fiction where the MC is at rock bottom, and what brings them back is someone whispering in their ear that so-and-so has it way worse than you, so get over it. This is not how pain and hardship works at all. Just because someone else's house burned down and they lost their dog and 10 other things doesn't make whatever you're going through any less real or any less painful. We all go through hardships, and it's not fair to compare them. Of course it can always be worse, but why do we need to remind the character of that and say that getting over it is the only way to move on? Why not try to help them through the situation rather than treating their predicament like a burden to you or that their feelings are completely invalid. Number 5, anger issues and physical violence being passed over as acceptable for men. I'm really over this whole boys will be boys thing. When men are abusive and violent, that stuff is scary. And I'm tired of seeing that brushed off in fiction as, oh, well, he's a man and that's just how men are. No, they're not. Number 6, women only getting one defining trait while men are good at everything. Man, tall, dark hair, scar above his left eyebrow, excellent hunter, charming with the ladies, mama's boy, witty, intelligent, quick thinker, problem solver, great singer, smooth talker, down to earth. Woman, she likes books. Women can have more than one hobby and talent and personality trait. I promise. Number 7, teenagers can either do drugs, have sex, and be bullies, or they're the virgin losers, and there's absolutely no in between. Let me tell you, there are a ton of in between. We've been to high school, right? Do we not remember the abundance of people that were there? Even if high school for you was 40 years ago, look at your own life. That's not how it is. There are not two categories of people. I feel like this is so harmful to younger people. I know when I was younger, I felt that I had to be one of those two, and I didn't want to be the bully, so I guess I was just going to be picked on constantly. And that's such a harmful thing to be telling young people. Why don't we have normal teenagers doing normal things? Number 8, inappropriate relationships. Far too often we see relationships that should not be happening being seen as not only romantic, but the things that we should be seeking out. This can include ridiculous age gaps like a 16-year-old and a 200-year-old. That's just gross. I don't understand why we're getting away with things like this. Someone who's 200 has far more experience than anyone else in our lifetime will. Why are we rooting for them to get with a minor, a 16-year-old? If this person in our world was 40, we'd be throwing them in jail. So why are we not doing it for people even older than that? Just because they look young? I don't get it. There's also so many relationships where they're taking advantage of the power in the situation. If both people do not have equal say of what's happening, it's gross and we're crossing a line. If someone is threatening to kill someone or hurt their family or take away their job or do something just so they'll sleep with them or have a relationship with them or go to an event with them, this is inappropriate and it needs to stop. Number 9, the idea that emotional, mental, or psychological abuse is not just as bad as physical abuse. This is another one, I don't understand it. And I see this brushed over in fiction all the time, where someone who's physically abusive will not be forgiven. But someone who is psychologically and emotionally abusive, people are told to, again, just get over it. Number 10, treating normal personality traits like there's something you need to overcome. How many times have we read a book or watched a movie where our character is introverted and quiet and they like alone time and to be with themselves? Nothing is wrong with that. So why is there complete arc by the end of the story that they are now the most popular and outgoing kid at school or at work or whatever? Your personality is not something you need to overcome. It's not a weakness. It's who you are. And I think this is very toxic to be telling people. It's a very terrible message. Number 11, relationships don't grow or change with time at all. I don't understand this. Anyone who's been in any sort of relationship at all, which is all of us, whether it's romantic, siblings, parents and children, grandparents, people we work with, friends, whatever it is. From day 1 when you're in that relationship to day 5,000, a lot has happened. Things grow, things change. So it just doesn't make sense to me when we're portraying this idea of relationships not growing with time. We see them a month into the relationship and 25 years into the relationship. Their sex drive is the same, the way they talk to each other is the same, they fight just as much as they always did, they don't communicate just like they never did, and it's just, relationships grow, relationships change, and it's a good thing. You get to know people better, you know how to communicate better. So this idea that your relationship in 25 years should be the exact same that it was at month 1 and you should feel the same, no, you should feel better about the person. And they also require work because you're sharing your life with someone. You have to work on all the little things to make sure things are running smoothly. So the idea in so many books that relationships don't require work, that's just a lie. Number 12, the idea that blood means you can do whatever you want to someone and they have to take it. This is something I feel I see in books and on screen constantly. Almost every time I go through a series, there is a storyline where one of the characters who's a blood relative horribly betrays the MC in some way. Whether they were abusive their entire childhood, physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, whatever. They were horrible to them for 18 years. This isn't something people just get over. Things that happen in your childhood shape who you are as a person. It shapes your ideas, how you form relationships. It's everything. It's how you become who you are. And for many people, seeing the person who abused you for years, it can make them relive all of that trauma. But then in the storyline, this person randomly shows up again and they want into their child or grandchild or brothers or whatever's life. And by the end of the story, they're all best friends again. Because the person who was abused has everyone whispering into their ears that they have to forgive them. They have to forgive them because they're blood. And they completely dismiss all of the trauma that this person has gone through, the therapy that they've worked hard through just to be able to cope, and now they just have to move on. And not only do they have to move on, which is healthy to do, they're basically required to have this person as a close individual in their life. No matter the PTSD, the anxiety, the trauma, all of it, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to just have them in your life. And when they do accept this person in their life, it's seen as the ultimate sign of strength. If someone in your life is causing you harm time and again, you do not have to put up with it, family or not. You do not have to be physically abused over and over and over again. You do not have to be mentally abused or psychologically abused or emotionally abused. Walking away from abuse takes immense strength. I wish this was a message that we saw far more in fiction. And finally, number 13, excusing people's bad behavior because that's just how they are. This is also something I see so much. Someone is a jerk or rude or racist or sexist, or they rely heavily on stereotypes and they don't watch the things that come out of their mouth. And instead of teaching them to be better, what their whole family or network does is tell other people that they have to get over it and that they have to be okay with it because that's how they are. It's not how you are. You're being a jerk. You need to grow. It's not your personality. No one's personality is to be sexist or racist or a jerk constantly. That's not a personality trait. That's you being a horrible person and making excuses for it. I don't want to see this in fiction anymore. I want to see people grow and change, not tell other people that they have to shut up because that's just how someone is. I don't like that. It's harmful for people in the real world to be seeing this in books and movies constantly. Hate it. So there you have it, 13 harmful tropes in fiction that I would like to see much less of, if any at all. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe for more bookish and writing related videos. Thanks for being here and I'll see you next time. Bye.